The day that I lost my husband is a day that I think the entire world will never forget. On September 11th, 2001, Jim was working in the World Trade Center on the 103rd floor of Tower 1. And at 8:46 that morning, a commercial jet flew through his window. I found out about it a few minutes later when my boss told me that a plane had just hit the towers, and I turned on the television and could not believe my eyes. And about an hour and a half later, Tower 1 collapsed, and that's when I knew that my life, as I knew it, was over.
He was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis, which there is no cure for. And he was able to function, but limited, and then he was on oxygen for half a year. And they told him he cannot get pneumonia or have the flu during the winter, and so he got the shots, and he got through the winter fine. And in July of 2000, he got ill, and he was only sick 1 week, and it was pneumonia in the hot summer.
Well, my husband smoked from the time he was 11 years old, and after he had a heart attack in 1975, he was told to give up smoking, but he wouldn't do it. And he proceeded to have more heart attacks through the years. And then finally, he got lung cancer. And it was a long, drawn-out illness. Then in the first week of August, he went back to the lung doctor, and he said, "I want to know the truth. How long do I have?" And the doctor said, "I'm not God, and I don't like to tell anybody how long they have." But he said, "Well, I want to know." And he said, "Well, from 2 weeks to 2 months." And he lived 2 weeks after that.
Well, George had cancer. And when he first found out he had cancer, the doctors did a little operation on him, and they told him everything would be okay, the cancer was gone. But unfortunately, it came back in 5 years, and it came back in another spot. So we was prepared for it.
Dave died suddenly. He had a blood clot to the lung. He was in the hospital for some surgery, but I never ever thought he wouldn't come home. He had surgery, he had a tumor in the colon removed, and that had gone into the liver. So he removed all that, and he was in for a week, and came home, and he went in on our 35th wedding anniversary. And he came home for a few days, and then he went back in, and he had some more surgery. But the particular day was September 12th, 2002, and my daughter had just brought in her 10-week-old daughter, and a friend from church had met me, and I had just gone down to the cafeteria for lunch with my friend, and I pinched his toe, and I said, "I'll see you soon," and that was the end, because they were getting him up to walk in the hall, and I heard them say, "Code Blue 7 East," and I said to my friend, "That's his hall, that's his floor," and then just a turn of events. So it was really sudden. I was just, he was coming home in my mind. But I said, we walked, as I said earlier, walking was just part of our lives. We just liked the outdoors. And I said, he walked right into the arms of a loving God.
He had a heart attack. Sudden. He had had some surgeries before that, but they had checked out his heart and he was fine. And actually, I took him to the ER. He just wasn't doing well, and they said he was having a massive heart attack, and he died within like 5 hours.
Brain cancer. He had it for 4 days, and the entire stomach was eaten up with cancer. We didn't know it. He didn't know it. What happened was he began to say within 3 weeks' time, off and on, that he just started saying, "Oh, I'm feeling a little lightheaded." And I never saw my husband sick. I never saw any sickness in him at all, and it was devastating. The doctor said that cancer was in the brain for 5 days, and the stomach, they have no idea how long. So he died within 8 days of being diagnosed. It was very devastating for me.
He was a snack food salesman, and he had to get up at 3:30, and it was about, I'd say, 9 o'clock at night, and the lights kept flashing off and on. He said, you know what, I'm going to go to bed. I came back downstairs as a teacher. I worked on some lesson plans because we knew there was a possibility of not having school the next day depending on the weather. And after I finished that, I went back up to bed, and I was not asleep very long, and I heard my husband, some unusual sounds, and I realized that he wasn't breathing, and I called for my youngest daughter, who was 16 at the time, and she gave him CPR. But he had had a massive heart attack, went home to be with the Lord very in his sleep, and so he was 48 at the time, and so it was very difficult in the beginning to accept.
We were in the process of moving to Tennessee at the time, and he and my son Tyler had just made their final move. And on January 10th, they made their move on the 9th, and on January 10th, during that night, it was during the 9th of the 9th, but he suffered a massive heart attack and died in the arms of our 11-year-old son around 1 o'clock in the morning. And we had spoken a couple hours before then when they got there, and he was just so excited that we were all going to finally be together, because he had been in Tennessee for about 6 weeks prior to finally making the move. And so he never really got to move. He was there, but we just, you know, it was very unexpected. For him to be 45 and I was 37, it was, you know, you don't plan for that sort of thing, and it was one of the most difficult days that I'd ever had to go through. I had lost a child years before, but I had him there to help get us through it as a family. But then I had to go through this and he not be there.